Welcome to the Academy. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Yulika. This is our very first episode. I'm very excited. Um, the Academy has been really doing well, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Academy in a little bit. But this podcast is a public facing extension of the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy. And I'm so excited to be here with you to help as we go along together on this entrepreneurial journey. Sometimes, as business owners, we intersect with accountants and bookkeepers and lawyers, and we forget that those professionals are also entrepreneurs. So, your doctor is also an entrepreneur. Um, Even though they're professionals, they also are figuring out their entrepreneurial journey as to how they should serve, how they should use their craft. And I want to share a little bit about my experience and background in this first episode about how my entrepreneurship came to be and how the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy was birthed. So first, myself, I'm a CPA, MBA, and I do business consulting with small business owners, helping them to learn how to grow their businesses by the numbers. There's a lot of hype out there with folks telling you how to build your email list or how to get in somebody's funnel. And that's all well and good. But when the money starts coming, what do you do? Also, if the money is not coming, why and what do you do? Your numbers of your business will tell you. And that's what the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy is purposed to do, to help you understand the metrics of your business and what you can do to make those metrics move in your favor. So I want to talk about my entrepreneurial journey and how I got here and how I know how to share my experience with you. So my experience comes from one, what I've learned in school, but also what really I know about entrepreneurship. I learned kind of in my own way, trying to figure out my own journey and how I should best show up in the marketplace and serve. So I started my entrepreneurship journey, you wouldn't believe this, as a home interiors seller. So I sold home interiors, and I don't know if you remember, they don't really have house parties like this. It's a multi-level marketing company that sold things that go on your walls, figurines, pictures. I like to decorate and garden and that kind of stuff. And so it was easy for me. I went to a home interiors party. I've always worked in the accounting field, but I also like to decorate my home and make it look nice. So over the years, I've supported home interiors. And at this one party, I ended up signing up and becoming a home interior distributor. So I had parties. I drug all my little pictures around town. My oldest daughter was my helper, so she would get dressed up. I didn't ask her to dress up, but she felt like when she came to help me, she would dress up and she would hand out the order slips. And I'm a Libra, and I like helping people, and I love having circles of people around me. So the work was actually perfect for me. I would do it on nights and weekends from my full-time job as an accountant. And then like every Tuesday, I think it was, a big shipment of pictures and stuff would come in, and the stuff from the previous week's parties would come in, and we would have to organize, and my daughter would read off the item numbers. We would check off the inventory and get the orders together to deliver to the folks, or they would come pick it up. So that was my first introduction to into entrepreneurship. So you can imagine, like, for Julika, you're an accountant. You could have been an accountant a long time ago. It really wasn't on my radar. I enjoyed my job. I was able to have work-life balance with my kids, and entrepreneurship, it really didn't occur. And I want to know actually some feedback from you. I wonder how many people have experienced that. You don't realize that that's something that you have a skill set at. But now looking back, that part of my journey was actually instrumental to what I'm doing today. I enjoyed intersecting with people. I would go into people's homes. People would actually invite me into their new home or their new space. and we would talk about things that were outside of what I sold. So we'd talk about colors and painting and arranging the furniture, and I would end up selling more, and they would call me back. So I would have like private kind of things instead of having the parties all the time, one-on-one, because I was really good at hearing what people needed and how they wanted to use their space. And we would talk about things on how to make that happen. So that was a skill that I guess I still use today. So then that was the first entrepreneurial journey. So then as I progressed, I got my CPA license in 2006. And I'm doing that while I'm working, taking care of the kids, doing home interior, and doing household stuff and balancing, going on vacations. And in that, as my kids got school age, they were in PTA. We also were very active in our church. And then on top of that, I was very active in my sorority. Shout out to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Woo woo. So I was very busy in all those areas, and my kids were in activities. But what I noticed in every one of those activities, that I started floating or moving towards the financial officer kind of roles of those organizations. So I helped with fundraisers, and I was served as treasurer for each of those, the PTA, church, sorority. I kind of helped with those kind of activities because I was good at it. It was easy. I was good at it. I could organize a fundraiser, or I could do the financial statements, and I started to doing it. So I actually learned QuickBooks as the financial officer for the sorority, because I had never, everywhere I worked was bigger. They had their own accounting system. So I didn't know how to use this off the shelf. I knew how to do accounting, but I wasn't familiar with the software. So when I learned that, I started teaching others how to use it. And later it just kind of grew. So everything I was in, I would be afraid when I joined a new organization or became a part of a new group. I was afraid to tell people what I did for a living because I felt like I was going to end up being the financial officer. And let me know. I'm sure some accountants out there have the same feeling when people are like, oh, you could be our next treasurer. No, I'm just coming to join your garden club. I'm not here to be the treasurer. So even doing all of that, I did not realize that I was going to have a business. I did not envision that I would be running my own accounting firm, and I would have this Plan2Prosper Small Business Academy. I didn't even see it. I don't know if I was so focused on my family. I really enjoyed those years. I enjoyed Disney World trips and getting ready for softball too. And the girls were in everything. Softball, volleyball, cheering. We did it all. And so I enjoyed that life. And entrepreneurship really wasn't that big on my radar. And so also in the next phase, how it kind of growing into being the entrepreneurial journey is that I started getting connected with other accountants, CPAs, and tax preparers who they saw like my organizational skills. So I used to take on projects, and it wasn't a full-fledged business, but I would come alongside them, help them key in. Back then, it was before we had like a lot of automated things. So people would bring receipts or bank statements, and they would say, Yulika, can I pay you to help me get this stuff keyed into this accounting system? Because at this time, I know about QuickBooks, the desktop version. And so I started keying in and helping and writing SOPs for people, because I realized that people were disorganized and stuff was all over the place. Because when you're used to working and doing your job in a corporate environment or a larger organization, the structure's already there. So I didn't realize how disorganized entrepreneurs were. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have the receipt? Like I took some of that corporate knowledge and I would begin to apply it to their clients. And I would help them get organized. So not only did we fix it for this tax season, but they're going to be a little bit more organized going forward. So I had worked in accounting, tax, and audit since 1991. So I had a good understanding of how it should look. And so I used those skills and helped it go from there. So then somewhere around the 2008 or 2009 timeframe is when I started doing my own thing, because people would come to me directly. And so I started as a sole proprietor at that time. And I started doing bookkeeping and payroll. It was wild, because what I found out is I didn't like it so much, because those clients who needed me were really disorganized. They were a hot mess. And so I spent a lot of time teaching them, organizing, creating forms for them because they didn't have standard processes. So they would just go buy something. And I'm like, you already got that. And so, because I remember in their books, they purchased that a few months ago, but they would spend money and lose stuff. So I really spent a lot of time helping to build structure in businesses. So I slowly gravitated away from doing the bookkeeping into helping them become organized and then giving them feedback and say, hey, if you did this, you can make more money, or you invested in something that you don't even have time to manage right now. So maybe you should wait and do that later. So I was giving them feedback. Like I said, I was helping do SOPs, standardized procedures. Then they would call me back and I would train their staff. And this grew and went on for years. So then I got so good at it and built a reputation that those CPAs and tax preparers would send their people to me. They would pay me as a subcontractor to organize, because they're busy doing their accounting, bookkeeping, and their tax stuff. So they don't have time to sit and tell this person, this is how your checking account should be set up. It should be separate from your personal. And so I would do the grunt work. And so that became my niche. I guess we weren't even calling it niches then. But I was like the cleanup woman. I would come, they would send them to me. Go over there to Ulika. Ulika's going to get you organized. I had no interest in doing the bookkeeping and the tax preparation or any of that stuff. So I would send them back. So I would get them straight and send them back. And some people had to come back every year. Because they would just mess up their stuff every year. Some people just didn't want to do right. And I started to enjoy this I call it the preparation work of accounting more than I enjoyed the accounting. And so I realized that that accounting and taxes are harder for disorganized clients, and that they really were kind of unteachable, some people. So I tried to, as best I could, I would come up with worksheets or cheat sheets to kind of move them in the right direction. And some of them got it and got better. But they weren't my problem full time because they belonged to their accountant or their tax preparer for the full year. And they only came when they needed help getting organized. Sometimes it was a SOP because they're hiring people, but they don't have time to teach that person what to do. So I would help them and give them a structure, template, to write the standard operating procedure so they can be doing the sale the same way, recording it the same way. So then it goes into the accounting system in a cleaner method, and they have the receipt because the person knows to keep a copy of it or email it or whatever. So we created workflows and that kind of thing. So during that time, I started receiving invitations to speak at workshops and conferences and doing interviews for podcasts. I'm like, people want to know this? Still, I'm telling you, how many people are slow like me? I'm like, oh, okay, this could really be a thing. But the internet wasn't like it is now. And online teaching and learning wasn't like it is now. So when you did a workshop, I actually had to drive there or fly there. They would fly me in, give me a hotel room. Or if I did an interview, usually it would be on the phone. Technology wasn't as it is now. So it really wasn't apparent to me, oh, I can do this from home and do it full time. So in 2008 is when I started the sole proprietorship. So in 2014, when I really started to get an understanding of what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. This is what the business is. I formed the PLLC, Firm Foundation Accounting Solutions. So I named it Firm Foundation Accounting Solutions because I wasn't doing the accounting. I was creating the solutions that make the accounting better. That was my thinking. And so out of that is what you see today. So it's been more training, workshops. I do a lot of one-on-one consulting. I even do something called VIP days where I spend a whole day with the person and we get all their business straight, either virtually or they fly me in and we work their thing. It might be inventory. I might have to come in t-shirt and jeans because we're going to be in a grimy warehouse to figure out half their inventory is old and beat up. But that's how I got to the place where I am today. And in that is how the academy came. Because I realized that training and business knowledge is what people need. People need to understand how business works, because as an entrepreneur, many entrepreneurs that I come in contact with who are my clients and are members of the academy have not been to business school. Their craft is what their craft. So they might be a hairdresser, or even the hair, do lawn care. I have a couple of people who do that and they're figuring out how to do that. Or they might be a web designer, but business in itself is not what they do. And so I realized that there needed to be a place for people to come and learn. And that is how the Plan2Prosper Small Business Academy came about. I didn't have a name until like 2019. That's when they actually became the name Plan2Prosper. And it actually evolved and got formalized when I was in my MBA program at the Raymond A. Mason School of Business at the College of William and Mary. Go Tribe. So while I was there, I focused on we had a 2-year project for the program, and it was called a wicked problem or complex problem. And you had to come up with a business problem and then formulate a solution for it, using the knowledge that you gained throughout the program. And so what my problem that I derived, and it had to be a problem that you were passionate about and you had a skill set to address in some way. You might not be able to solve the thing, but you had a way and a passion really to make it work. And that is what it was. So in my project, it became about businesses operating in the shadow economy. So let me tell you a moment what the shadow economy is. If you are a business owner and you're operating under the table, meaning you don't have a business license, you don't pay income taxes, you don't have structure in place, maybe it's a side hustle. That is what economists refer to as the shadow economy. So when they're talking about gross domestic product and the stock market, and these are how many jobs on the market, they're not talking about you. They're not even the things that are the incentives that come out to help business aren't for people in the shadow economy. That means as a shadow economy business, you aren't fully participating in the goodness of the economic capitalist system. You're missing on certain programs, opportunities, funding. You can't go market to the government or certain levels of business. So the shadow economy is kind of meant to keep you small. So you might think you're getting away with stuff because you aren't paying taxes and you're doing everything under the table, is not reported, but you're actually cheating yourself in the long run because you cannot fully take advantage of what the entrepreneurial economic system is about here in the United States and abroad. And so my goal in that project was to learn why people stayed in the shadow economy. And there are many reasons. There are economic reasons. There are social justice reasons that I won't get into here. But the reason that I could address with my skill set, and which was the requirement of the program, was business knowledge. Like, some people did not understand if you only work a side hustle your whole career and you aren't paying taxes, then, and I know people who they've worked their entire career, doing odd jobs here and there. When it gets to retirement time, they have no Social Security. They have no retirement. Oftentimes, those people have no health insurance. So there's a missing thing. So I wanted to show people, I wanted a place for people to come to be able to get information, to learn as they build their business about how entrepreneurship works, and that your business is really no different than Walmart. You buy something, you find what people need, you create a place for people to come to it. They buy at a certain price, you buy at a certain price, and you mark it up and you take into account all of your expenses, and then you want your money coming in to be bigger than your money coming. It doesn't matter if you're a mom and pop or a Fortune 500 company, it works the same way. And I wanted those business owners to know that you're not as far off as you think you are. You're no different than the Fortune 500 company. They just have bigger quantities of that opportunity. They're able to buy and discount and do different things. They have multiple locations, but the concept and the premise are universal and apply to all sizes of business. And so the Plan2Prosper Small Business Academy. So what came out of, so all those things that happened that I talked about, the home interior, then doing the books and learning QuickBooks, and then going into this MBA program, all of that came to where we are today. The inaugural episode of the Plan2Prosper Small Business Academy podcast. And I'm so excited to be able to deliver that to you. And I'm hoping that you can come with me on this journey where we talk about the real things that grow business. It's not a hustle. And in the intro, we say that it's not a hustle. It's not hype. So you just running after the latest fad and what people are doing. Like everybody now wants to be a coach. I understand. But there is a methodology to entrepreneurship. And once you learn that methodology and how to understand the financial outcome of business and how to purchase and what to purchase and how financial statements work, some of that knowledge is going to build you and teach you where you need to go. And one thing I always say is that your business is always talking to you, but you need to be able to speak the language of the business to know how to respond accordingly. So you aren't sending good money after bad. Sometimes I see some business owners just keep pouring money into something that's not working. So I don't care how many Facebook ads you do. If you don't have a good product, you don't have a good product. If you can't find the customers for it, for your service or your program, it's likely that you don't have the program that people need. So it's not where you just build it and the people will come. You have to go and see what the people need and meet that need and find the people who have the need and have the means to pay you, and you will be profitable. But that's a skill set that grows over time. That's not a one and done. That's not a 2-week program that you're going to figure out, everything at once. It's growth. And it's also taking those experiences that you've had over the years as an entrepreneur. You need to fail sometimes. Failure is good because it teaches you something. Oh, okay. Oh, I needed to price that a little bit better. Oh, I don't need to be driving all the time. I need to figure out how to ship. You need to be failing early and often. There's a book that I read a while back. I put it in the show notes, and I actually read it in the MBA program. It's called Little Bets, and it's talking about making little decisions and experiences that help you grow your business. And so don't be afraid of failure. Don't be looking at the person to your left or to your right because you don't know their story. They're stunting on social media, but they may or may not have the money. And as an accountant and a business coach, I see the real deal on people's financials. And some people say they made $1 million, but if you made $1 million and you spent $1 million, you got zero. So don't be intimidated or flustered by what people are doing around you or what they're saying or even what they're posting. You need to understand business knowledge for yourself so you can interpret what your business is telling you, and you can read the market, read the landscape, and see what people need and be able to move towards that need. And once you answer the pain, the money will come. So in the Plan2Prosper Small Business Academy, let me tell you about some of the things that we do. So it's an online-based membership. So there are monthly workshops where I teach on different topics related to accounting, business, and other topics that are exclusive only to the membership. I also have flagship courses that are bigger, full-fledged courses, and the members of the academy get a discount on recording those courses. A discount on enrollment in those courses and major events. We have a major business planning event every year, and the academy gets first grab at those things, and they also get a nice discount. So I said all this to say in this first episode, I feel like I've hit my sweet spot with this academy. It hits all the buttons that I mentioned before about working with people, going into their space, and seeing what they need, and then building a product or service that meets that need. I get to fellowship with entrepreneurs because entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. So the academy is a place where I get to hear your pain. So I'm not the only person that's going through, certain things with customers and clients and figuring out what to do next. And I get to meet their needs by providing training. And this podcast is a part of that effort. So the podcast is, as I mentioned before, is a public-facing segment of the academy. And the content in the academy is much more in depth and more outcome focused. So it's homework. So you're going to have an action to go do. One hint I could tell you is that entrepreneurs have an accounting system. So we leave it there. You need an accounting system. You can't just be going willy-nilly and not have anywhere to capture the income and expenses. That's a big one of the foundational principles and things that we teach within the academy. So I hope my story helps you with the journey that you're going through, that you are not alone. And it doesn't matter the profession. It doesn't matter if you're selling a $10 product or a $10,000 product. The entrepreneurial journey is the same. I want you to be comfortable in who you are and what God has created you to do in the marketplace. So, like I said, I started from selling home interiors, but that experience is not lost. I gained valuable experience and learned about myself and how I like to interact with people doing that. So I hope you can look back over your career and business journey and see what parts of your experience you want to put together in some kind of package so you can help people and learn while doing it. So I know some people hate their job, but what part of their job, why did you take it? Was it the clerical stuff? Was it the outcomes? What are you learning in that space that's going to help you provide a product or service to your client? So one of my pet peeves, I'm getting off, I'm on a tangent. I just want to know, how can you work at a corporation for 10, 20 years where it was organization and structure? Then you go and run your business and it's chaotic as heck. What did you learn when you were on that job? I mean, really? You learn that it's payroll every 2 weeks. You learn how to write an email. You learn how to keep a calendar of events. So don't hate the job so much that you miss the lesson as to what you've done. So I meet people that come and hire me and for consulting, and they say, I just quit my job, and that wasn't for me. And then I look at their back end, and they are just in total chaos. I'm like, did you hate the job so much that you learned nothing? Come on, I expect you, if you worked at a corporation for 20 years, that there should be some structure and professionalism in your business. So that's one of my pet peeves, but just making sure, my point there is to make sure that every step of your journey that you're gaining and you're taking the lesson from that chapter. So maybe the purpose of being at that company was to learn how a company runs, learning how that people need structure and hours, and people need meetings, they need information. There needs to be a way to capture customers and sales. Just take the lesson. So if that's one challenge from today, I hope that you're going to take time to look back over your journey and see, because just like my home interiors, I love coming into people's spaces and seeing how I could make their life feel better, look better in their home, and they could live. And likewise, I like being invited into people's businesses. So although virtually now, that I can learn how to operate, how they operate, and how I can make it work better in their lives for themselves and their customer. So make sure that you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Make sure that you are sitting down and really thinking about the structure of your career, of your experience, of your entrepreneurial journey, and you're not leaving out those lessons. What did you learn? Did you have a bad boss? What did you learn from them? How are you going to be a better boss when you create your company and able to hire people? What policies will you have in place that are similar to your previous employer or your other adventures that you've been on, your other endeavors? You got to make sure that you're taking the lessons, people. That is an attribute of a good entrepreneur, that you're starting early, that you are learning throughout the process. Those years are not discounted. And you should be able to create a product or service that addresses a need using your skill set and earn money while doing it. So that comes to the end of our first episode. I am so thankful again that you are here. One thing I want to leave with you, in the show notes, there is a download that I want to give you. It's called the 10 Things That Your Accountant Wishes You Knew. It is something that started actually as us talking when I used to speak all the time. I used to speak and I used to talk about the 10 things your accountant wishes you knew. That we as accountants, we're not just numbers people and have our head down. That we actually care about your business and have some things that we wish that our clients knew that would grow their business. You can go to coachjalika.biz. Down in the show notes, you'll see it, but it's a free download that kind of talks on some of the things that I talked on today, and they'll help you on your entrepreneurial journey. So again, I want you to think about today's broadcast. Number 1 is done, okay? And I want you to learn more so you can earn more. Thank you. Yulika's out.